Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. The COVID-19 economic impact has been dramatic, with economic activity pulling back sharply, but the housing market is a bright spot as record low interest rates and changing views about housing requirements have created a boom in home sales. Joining me to discuss is Tendayi Kapfidze. He's the chief economist at Nasdaq listed LendingTree. Tendayi, it's great to see you. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And while housing isn't one of the hottest topics on the campaign trail, the outcome of the election could have a profound impact on the housing market. How would a Trump or Biden win? How could that have an impact on housing? Let's first start with Trump.
So one of the drivers of the strength in the housing market, as you noted, has been these really low interest rates, right? Part of it is driven by the Fed activity in the mortgage market and in the treasury markets. But something that the Trump administration is proposing could have a negative impact on interest rates, which means it could lead to higher interest rates. So they're proposing privatizing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which securitize about half of the $10 trillion residential mortgage market. So if those companies become private, if investors interpret that as saying that they no longer have this government guarantee backing them, that could actually lead to higher interest rates in the mortgage market, which would make home buying more expensive for any potential buyer out there.
And how about Biden? What would it look like under Democratic scenario?
So Biden is not proposing to privatize Fannie and Freddie. He has a big housing proposal out there, $640 billion over 10 years. A lot of it is centered around increasing access and addressing some of these historical inequities that we have in the housing market, where certain demographics don't have the same type of opportunity for home ownership. So they do this through various proposals. One is a down payment assistance program that would give $15,000 to first-time home buyers, and then various other legislation that aims to address some of the discriminatory practices and impacts that happen in the housing market. And these are things that are kind of opposite to what President Trump has done during his administration, where he has acted to remove a lot of protections that were in place to guard against discrimination in the housing market.
Well, let's talk about a community that doesn't really benefit from one or the other. COVID-19 has wreaked havoc on the homeless community. How is that going to be addressed? They need a place to live too.
Yeah, so Biden actually has a plan around homelessness, and it really recognizes that homelessness is kind of an end result of various other challenges that a person could face. So the Biden plan aims to address things such as mental health and addiction crises, as well as creating facilities and capabilities for these people to own homes. But really, it looks at it as a holistic approach to trying to solve this problem, and also has a particularly special focus on veterans who unfortunately make up a large share of the homeless population because they don't receive quite all the services that they need when they leave the service.
Let me throw another question at you as we're talking about homelessness. The moratorium for not paying your rent is going to be lifted on January 1st. So my question to you is, and this might sound a little elementary, homeowners seem to have gotten mortgage forgiveness and assistance, but if you rent, it doesn't seem as if that's available to you. Am I correct in saying that?
So the assistance for renters is kind of analogous to what homeowners got, right? Nobody actually kind of got their payments canceled, right? Homeowners got, kind of forbearance, and renters got this moratorium from evictions. But everybody still owes all the money that they would owe ordinarily, right? The original idea between all these programs was that we'd get to the other side of the crisis, kind of build a bridge, and on the other side of the crisis, people would be able to find solutions. But unfortunately, we're not at the other side of the crisis. The economy is still doing really bad when you look at the jobs market. And so come January 1st, a lot of renters who are behind on their rent are once again going to be eligible for evictions, right? It could be, upwards of 10 million, according to some estimates. The challenge, of course, is that, there's no new stimulus. These people have no way to pay their rent, right? We're seeing this K-shaped recovery where we have this really hot housing market at the higher income levels, but in the middle and lower income levels where a lot of people rent, there's not been that type of recovery because people use the stimulus that they got to live day to day, and they need another round of stimulus. So yeah, it's a big risk come January 1st, and certainly needs a solution from the government.
And like you said, it just doesn't even feel like we're close, and that's concerning because as an economist, you know this very well. Most of these jobs are not coming back, unfortunately, and when people lose their homes and they can't pay back landlords who can't pay back the banks, I mean that's kind of classic recession 101. I mean it is a bit concerning. It doesn't seem to be that there's a solution on the table. So, of the two candidates, when you think about housing, which plan is the most feasible and equitable?
Probably the most feasible, the Trump plans, because really what he's trying to do is kind of move backwards in time. The Biden plans are probably more equitable, but they're more difficult, and it's questionable how much of it he can actually achieve because it requires a lot of legislation. So probably we'll find out next Tuesday. There's going to be a break in the trend, or there's going to be a continuation. In terms of near-term stimulus, I also think that the election, on the other side of the election, we have a better chance of getting some near-term stimulus than right now. And then in the long run, of course, it will depend on what legislation is put in place by either the continuation of the Trump administration or the new Biden administration.
Tendayi, thanks so much for joining us on Trade Talks.
Thank you.
All right, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.